Good evening, everyone. My name is Leigh Swigart, and I direct the programs in International Justice and Society here at Brandeis's International Center for Ethics, Justice, and Public Life. I'm delighted to see such a large crowd for this wonderful occasion, the Distinguished Lecture in International Justice and Human Rights, for whom we're very honored to have as our speaker His Royal Highness Prince Zeid Al-Hussein. The title of his lecture tonight is Beyond Nuremberg, the Future of International Criminal Justice. Let me thank our co-sponsors for this event, for their assistance in organizing and publicizing the event: the Legal Studies Program, International Global Studies Program, and the Masters in Coexistence and Conflict programs of the Heller School. We're also very pleased to have as our moderator Professor Donald Ferenc of the Planethood Foundation, which has generously funded tonight's event. Planethood also supported our first distinguished lecture in International Justice and Human Rights, which some of you may have attended a couple of years back, which was where we hosted the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, Hassan Jallow. As some of you may know, the International Center for Ethics, Justice, and Public Life is itself a player in the world of international justice. We are the only organization that regularly convenes gatherings of international judges, that is, judges who serve on the benches of international courts and tribunals around the world, be they criminal tribunals, be they human rights courts, or be they institutions that deal with the resolution of conflicts among states. We also bring together international judges with their domestic counterparts in colloquia where the judges have the opportunity to exchange views and experience about the internationalizing world of justice, how domestic judges are increasingly called upon to apply international law in their domestic jurisdictions, and the kinds of issues that this brings up. One of our goals is to create a network of judges at both the domestic level and the international level who have a common purpose and who can interact with one another and assist one another in terms of how to approach particular kinds of crimes, the dissemination of jurisprudence, and so on. And I hope that some of you, at least, already receive our monthly electronic newsletter, International Justice in the News, which is a selection of important news about the people who work in the world of international justice, about important developments, court cases, treaties, ratifications of various kinds, and also articles and resources that could be of interest. So it's a very easy way and a very digestible way to get a handle on what's going on in the world of international justice, which is a very, very busy world, and one where one can sometimes be overwhelmed by the flood of information. We have a mailing list over here at the side of the room, and we invite you to sign up for it, and also to visit our website so that you can look at all our activities, and you can also download the various publications that we produce. And there is also available over there a couple of copies of our most recent report on the Brandeis Institute for International Judges. And there's plenty more on our website, and they can be downloaded. One other thing that Brandeis University does to be an actor in the world of international justice is very innovative, and that is that it has established the only study abroad program for undergraduate students in The Hague, our Brandeis in The Hague program. It now runs both the spring semester and the summer semester, and it is an amazing opportunity for undergraduate students, some of whom may be headed toward the legal profession, others who may be studying international global studies, maybe studying philosophy, maybe studying economics. But they have the opportunity to go to The Hague, to visit international courts and tribunals, to sit in on trials, to hear from not only judges but prosecutors and defense counsel, and to hear about the challenges in this burgeoning world of international justice and international courts and tribunals, and what are its successes and what are the things that it could do better. And one has only to speak to a student who's actually had this study abroad experience to know how transformative it is. There are also some brochures for Brandeis and The Hague over the side of the room, so if you're interested, please pick one up, and there's lots of information on the website. So the first item on tonight's agenda is to hear from Brandeis University President Frederick Lawrence, who has graciously offered to come here and say a few words despite some conflicting demands on his time this evening. President?
Thank you, Leigh. There are, in fact, conflicting demands on my schedule, and unfortunately, I'm going to make a few remarks and then not be able to stay. This is the traditional time then when a president would say, I wish I could stay for all of the proceedings, but in this case, I want to say something more. I actually wish I could stay for all of the proceedings. Not that that's not always true, but it does seem to me that what we're gathered for tonight is a good example of where Brandeis can play a major role as a convener, and on a series of issues that have occupied us in some ways since the very founding in 1948 and continue to. Leigh said that the space of international justice is a very busy space, I think you said. It's a busy space, it's a crowded space with lots of voices, almost too many voices, but I will tell you what there aren't too many of, and that is people who are able to get their, as it were, heads above the tree line and try to make some sense out of some of these pressing issues. The whole idea of an international criminal justice system is something that, were we gathered in this room 100 years ago, would have seemed aspirational to the point of being excessively idealistic. And yet here we are talking about serious challenges, talking about the strengths of the system, talking about the pressures and the stresses on the system, but we recognize the system of international criminal justice. That itself is not enough to say they're well done, we've finished our work. But we should pause and take a moment and observe that and say that it is an extraordinary accomplishment all of these years after Nuremberg, to hear remarks tonight on beyond Nuremberg, to know that there is a regime of international criminal justice in the world, that it has an architecture which is sometimes invisible, and yet I prefer to think of it as transparent, not invisible, because it does provide a framework for addressing issues that are extraordinarily pressing, literally around the globe. We are extraordinarily fortunate tonight to have both Don Ferencz and Prince Zeid with us. I had the pleasure of talking with both of them just a moment ago, and I know that you delighted an audience of students up at the Heller School, challenged them, I'm sure, and knowing my wonderful Heller students, I bet they challenged you right back. And that's what will happen tonight as well, or this afternoon as well, after your remarks. But we are honored to have both of you with us. Leigh will proceed with the introductions. I will add that for us, the International Center for Ethics, Justice, and Public Life has always been associated with thinking of the intersection between international challenges and where the concept of justice, not a singular concept, not one that is easily identifiable and articulable, but one that is vital to the human mission. To press on these issues, to discuss these issues, to push on these issues, and to talk about, what would it be to, as your provocative title suggests, to move, beyond what was set up for us in the period in the aftermath of the Shoah and the aftermath of the horrors of the Second World War, to still face challenges as an international human rights regime, to still face challenges in international criminal justice system, and yet to have many of those issues in a place that is circumscribed and far better, healthier, more positive than that which we inherited. I don't think we're going to solve any of this tonight. On the other hand, there is a sacred mission that's given to us, and that is in our time to leave it a little better than we found it. And I know that both of you already are able to say that you have left so many issues better than you have found them. Brandeis is honored to have both of you with us, and I do truly regret that I will not be able to spend the balance of the lecture with you. It was the great philosopher Groucho Marx who said, "Although I must be going," which I think is the theme song of university presidents. But I leave you all in good hands, and I know that the remarks will take us along this journey of identifying the challenges and some of the possible elusive but vitally important solutions to how we could improve on an international criminal justice regime. Thank you both for being with us tonight.
I'd now like to introduce our moderator, Mr. Donald Friends. We're really delighted to have Don with us here tonight for two distinct reasons. First, as I mentioned before, Don Friends is the founder and director of the Planet Hood Foundation, which is supporting tonight's lecture. The Planet Hood Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating to replace the law of force with the force of law. Second, and perhaps more importantly, Don is an influential figure in the world of international criminal justice in his own right. Don was born to hold such a position. And when I say that, I mean that not figuratively, but literally. Don was born in the city of Nuremberg, where his father, Benjamin Friends, had served as a prosecutor at the Nuremberg military tribunals that sought to establish accountability for the mass atrocities committed during World War II. Don is an attorney, and he is passionate as an advocate for the rule of law in global affairs. He's been extremely active over the past decade and a half in support of the International Criminal Court, and in particular in working toward the definition and adoption and ratification of the crime of aggression in the ICC statute. He's also the convener of the Global Institute for the Prevention of Aggression. And I hope that some of you, I think I recognize some faces, were with us this afternoon at the Haller School when both Mr. Friends and Prince Zeid spoke about the crime of aggression and the process of bringing it under the umbrella of the crimes that are laid out in the Rome Treaty of the International Criminal Court. Don has spoken very frequently and in far-flung places on this topic and others of critical importance in the world of international criminal justice. And he's also, since 2002, been a visiting professor at the Middlesex University School of Law in London, England. In the course of Don's work, he has come to know tonight's distinguished lecturer very well. And so at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Don Friends, who has the happy task of introducing formally Prince Zeid Zeid Al-Hussein. Thank you.